This is 102.7 Chop FM, and you're listening to ArtsTalk. Good evening. You're listening to 102.7 Chop FM, and this is Arts Talk. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And this show is dedicated to bringing the arts to Newmarket. Not just musical arts, although there's always lots of musicians on our show, but any artist practicing any discipline, be they amateur or professional. If you're in the arts and would like to appear on Arts Talk, then we'd like to hear from you.
You can get in touch with us by emailing artstalkradio102.7 at gmail.com, or you can check us out on Facebook. That's facebook.com/artstalkradio.
And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday, 6 o'clock sharp, to hear good music and find out what's going on in the independent arts scene.
Woo.
Our guests tonight are Dan, Chris, and Audrey from Smash The Stigma. Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here.
It makes them sound like a band, so
It
we
really
need
does.
to
Smash The Stigma
clarify.
actually is a pretty good band name.
Yeah.
You guys all the way down from northern part of the province, Barrie.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
long drive.
You're based out of Barrie, everybody?
Yep.
Born and raised?
No.
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 Ooh.
I'm a foreigner.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I was originally born in Ottawa.
Oh, cool.
Moved around a lot throughout southern Ontario and sometimes overseas, and ended up in Barrie for a little bit. So.
Cool. Very cool.
What about you, Audrey?
I'm from Barrie.
You are Barrie.
Yeah.
So Barrie's changed a lot since you were born, right? What's 150,000, 160,000 people now? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
City is
it's
big.
definitely growing. So let's tell our listeners what is Smash the Stigma for those that haven't heard of it yet.
Smash the Stigma is a mental health awareness movement, our organization type thing that we started back in May of this year. It started with just one show, and now we've put on another one. We have another one planned coming up the 24th of February in Barrie at the Fox.
What's the purpose of Smash the Stigma, Chris?
So it's to open a dialogue, dispel myths surrounding mental illness. I've suffered from various mental illnesses for about 10 years now, and I just use my lived experience to try and help others. We want to raise funding for local mental health initiatives. We want to raise the awareness and keep those conversations going.
You
Totally.
met Taylor through the show at the Fox Lounge. Is that
I
correct?
think we met at the Fox Lounge one way or another. I'm not sure if it was a Smash the
Oh,
Stigma
yeah.
show or not. It wasn't.
It was
because-
before that, yeah.
So what made you decide to do this with bands, with music, with live performance? And what was the connection there?
I gotta say, it was the Fox. Actually, it was an idea that came to me in a manic episode. So I approached Shane with really no idea that was formed, and he just said yes. So our minds are pretty alike in that way.
So you went to Shane Heath, by the way,
Oh,
for
yeah,
our
Shane
listeners,
Heath,
who is the
yes.
owner of the Fox Lounge, a great
Yeah. Past
friend
guest of Arts Talk
He's
as
been
well.
on, a good friend of the show and
Yeah.
of the independent music scene.
Big time.
And said, hey, I'd like to hold a fundraiser here.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said I would appreciate a few more details. Of course. I got Audrey on board, and it grew into a 14-act show
Oh yeah,
from
the
5
first one
until
was
2 in the
crazy,
morning.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like
we
very
raised
busy.
$1,250 for the Canadian Mental Health Association.
Very nice.
Amazing. Very,
Yeah.
very cool. It's so nice to bring everyone together like that. And I do love Shane. Shane's so supportive with everyone's
Oh
just
yeah.
well-being. Like he really cares about the people in the community that you see at the Fox. Like it's more than just like a rock bar. It's like
Yeah, and that's why we
So-
called it a Foxy fundraiser
Yeah.
for mental health awareness. It's I couldn't think of doing it any other place.
I was gonna ask that later on, like if it's something that you see reaching other areas, is it something that you want to see grow, or do you want to maybe keep it in Barrie? What's the plan with that?
Yes, we want to keep the Fox as our headquarters, but we have definitely been in talks about doing some stuff that will be announced soon. We want to keep some mystery, but we do have a lot in the works.
Cool.
But mostly in Barrie for now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Barrie's just growing and growing with the art scene in general. Like, it's nice to see everyone.
For sure. And
Coming together.
I remember when the promotion was going on, as the bands were signing on, they were doing a lot of work on Facebook, so you got a lot of word out.
Definitely.
Did good turnout for the show?
Yeah, it was packed for most of the time.
Which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
It's good for everybody. So it started out originally with you talking to Shane, and then how did Dan and Audrey get involved?
So Audrey was a friend of mine already, and she was able to keep up with my mania. So she kept me in line. She did a whole lot of work with me. Dan eventually reached out to me to showcase his art, so I'll let him talk about that part. But it just all happened to work out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, so when I saw a posting on Facebook back before the show started, and I thought, this is something I wanted to start getting more exposure for myself as an artist.
Is it visual arts that you?
Visual arts, yeah. I paint usually to deal with a lot of my issues and try to just sort of express myself in different media. And so I saw this, and I sent a message to Chris, say, hey, listen, I see you're looking for visual artists. I would love to be part of it. It's also something that's dear to me. I have a lot of belief in it, and I saw that what he was trying to do and achieve with it, I wanted to get on board. So I originally started off as just as a part of the. As an exhibitor, right?
Right, yeah.
And then as Chris and I started to talk more and more, I became more involved and started to say, where else can I help out? And that's how I got more heavily involved and started working with him on the shows that we did and moving forward. Yeah, some of the other things we're working on now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Got a good team, Chris.
Yeah, and it's growing. Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You see more and more people getting involved and on board, and it's really growing. You can see it online.
So it's great to raise a little bit of money, but it sounds like it's the social element of it, the trying to, as the name implies, to destigmatizing mental health issues.
Yeah,
that this is really about.
Yeah, for me, I'd much rather have one-on-one time with the people, which I do. People know me as the guy from Smash The Stigma, or some of them know my name, but it's opened up a lot of conversations, and a lot of people have reached out and said that they're so thankful to have something like this around, because there is that stigma that puts up the barriers to getting help. And certainly fundraising for community initiatives, our main focus is youth. So the CMHA is building a youth center, and all our money has gone towards that the funds that we've raised.
That's really important
so
too.
that's secondary to it, but definitely the community support, peer support, the one-on-one. That
think about
more.
that. Even just one person who recognizes that they're not alone. I think that's just such an important thing to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it builds a sort of a positive outlook too, right? You're trying to build a positive atmosphere so people can express themselves freely without fear of being judged or condemned.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too, just to highlight that I think has also been kind of helpful, because I've had a couple of people approach me from this angle, is those that don't have mental health issues but have a friend or family who does, and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what. They want to be positive, but they don't really know how to approach it. So this has also been a platform for people to realize, okay, this is how I can support my loved one when they're in a time of crisis.
You're opening conversations that maybe people would be a little afraid or hesitant to start because they don't know how to relate. Or it's good, it's like there was one thing that you did at when Hysterics played. I think it was the second Smash The Stigma show. You were just like. You said like I'm bipolar and if anyone is bipolar or has a mental illness and it feels comfortable to raise their hand, please do. And you saw all these hands go up where you don't, not even about like who has what or who, but just the fact that you're not alone, or people that you didn't think had issues like that are also dealing with things that you might be, or it just was eye-opening and a good supportive.
Yeah, it really matters. I remember a friend of mine 30 years ago, a friend of mine came out and she said when she went to her first Pride parade, she cried and cried and cried because she was surrounded, right? She saw thousands of people, and she was, all of a sudden she wasn't alone. And it makes me think of that.
Yeah, when Audrey and I started this, we had a lot of conversations about what Smash the Stigma meant, and we definitely support, Pride, that kind of stuff as well. And we always get told that's not a mental illness. Well, no, but it's stigmatized.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it goes hand in hand. They do have depression or anxiety because of fear of coming out.
Sure.
And I know you could probably speak to this more, Audrey, but we've had a lot of people come up to us about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think also within youth and young adults, it's something that people don't open up about as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again, going back to like asking people to put their hands up
Mm-hmm.
if they have a mental illness, it's creating a space that people feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
enough to actually
Totally.
like talk about it together.
Yeah, and it's being taken seriously too. Like I remember
Yeah.
as like a teenager, you kind of get that you'll grow out of it, or
Yeah.
this is supposed to happen, or
Yeah.
or you know, it's a nice.
It's a phase.
Yeah, so it's nice that you're creating this community or this concept where they are taken seriously and they have a place to talk about it and relate to others and of all ages and all. Yeah, it's very cool.
It's awesome. It's really great. You're listening to 102.7 CHOP FM. This is ArtsTalk, and I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Cross.
And we're in conversation with Audrey, Chris, and Dan from Smash The Stigma. Who thought up the name?
That was me in my books. I guess I just kept writing it, and then eventually I just capitalized the first letters, and it became our
Started
name,
as a
and then
hashtag.
added Canada at the end. Yeah, it was a hashtag first, actually.
We were
That's
using
true.
it with the events too,
Mhm.
like on the poster.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
definitely stuck.
thinking, what
Yeah.
should we name it? It was literally right in front of us.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you talk about your books? I haven't really touched base on that yet. You have a few books out that you've published yourself, written, published, yeah?
Yeah, so I self-published 3 books. It's called the BPD Journals. It's a series. And that's really what sparked this whole thing is, and it's like what you said earlier, that even if you reach one person. So at the very beginning of the first book, I say I'm bearing this all, and if I reach just one person, it's worth it. Because I want to release something that if I would have read this when I was in the worst of this, then maybe it would have helped me. Maybe it would have made a difference. So I kept going, kept the momentum up, and it's had a fairly good reaction, sales-wise, but that's not what it's about. I've heard one person at least say that it helped them, and that's all I needed to hear, but it just kept growing, and now my focus has shifted more to what I can do in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It says a lot about the kind of person you are that you would, instead of retreating into your own situation, you were thinking about how you could use your situation to help others. That's not a normal, or I think it's kind of an unusual trait.
Oh, I did at first. Yeah, these were never meant to see the light of day. I released it 3 years after, and
It took courage, right?
Oh, sure.
that's why I used a pseudonym. So I used a pen name, but
What's
one
the
of
pen
the-
name?
Topher Edwards, and it's very clever because it's the last part of my first name and my middle name. So, yeah, no one will ever figure that out. It's a hard code to crack. But
Still cracking it.
yeah. But
You're a super spy.
in one of my in one of the readings I will do, you'll see the unveiling, which was, I don't want to equate it to that, but it was kind of a coming out in a way, saying, yeah, this is what I've been through, this is what I've been doing, because there's some stuff in there that when my mom said she wanted to read them, I cringed a lot, but she's been incredibly supportive, so
That's wonderful.
that's good.
That really is amazing.
That would be hard though for
It's
your
super
parents
hard.
to
I
read
can't
and
even
die.
imagine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we said I can't get in trouble for anything. There's immunity
Yeah.
to anything
I'd say
written
that.
down.
Oh,
Yeah, I was safe.
You didn't trash your mother in the book, did you?
A
No,
little
I don't
bit,
know.
A little bit, yeah.
We want to talk about the arts and the influence of the arts, but maybe we should play a song.
Yeah, I think we should.
So
Totally.
what are we going to hear?
So this is Rosewood Annie, which I know you've had them play at one show, and I think that they're playing another one coming up.
They're headlining the next one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're a Barrie band. They're from Halifax. We should have them on the show. I can't believe we don't have,
We
don't have them
absolutely
booked
should.
yet.
Okay.
We love them.
What's the song called?
The song's called
2020.
2020.
Beautiful. On 102.7 CHOP FM. 102.7 Chop FM. This is ArtsTalk. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And we are in conversation with Chris, Audrey, and Dan from Smash The Stigma. So, before we carry on the conversation, apparently you want to read something, Chris. Is that
We've
right?
asked him to read.
Dude,
I did. I asked him.
I don't know.
I was strong-armed into this. But I reluctantly said I would.
What are we going to hear?
So this is from my first book. This was March 27th, 2013. So the period between 2009 to 2014 was hell, to put it lightly. So this one actually follows that song perfectly. It's called Hindsight. So I think they'll appreciate that one. So I'll just read it. Now there's curse words in it that I have artfully edited out. So I'll
So if you
just
get
go.
a copy, then don't be shocked.
Yeah.
It's a little more,
You're right.
a little less PG.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much less. All right, so it's called Hindsight. So just one day until I turned 23. Looking back on the year that just passed, let alone the last 4 years, is, for lack of a better term, disturbing. I thought I would be different. I thought I would have done something worth writing about. All I did was take a year and continue screwing everything I touch. Screwing up everything I touched. That was one of the edits there. I have spent thousands of dollars on drugs, booze, and cigarettes to numb myself. Now I am broke, depressed, medicated, and all around crappy. Where will I be 1 year from now? Probably in the same position. People say hindsight is 20/20, but that doesn't mean anything when you didn't do anything about it. Same goes for potential, just as pointless unless you give enough of a crap to use it. Hindsight, for me, is a horror show filled with pain and suffering, memories of people in the past I loved, lost, and even buried. People who said they cared and proved that they didn't. I guess that is one change I have made, isolating myself from people in general, as opposed to getting hurt by their lies and betrayals. To be honest, I am shocked I made it through the year. 2 suicide attempts have left me scarred, weak, and empty. I would love to be optimistic about this coming year, that maybe I will be writing a much happier story, but the fact is that is not my life. I've accepted my place in the universe, and despite complaining about it from time to time, I have no choice but to adapt. Darwin was right. So, I was very optimistic, as you can see. So a lot of these were just, it was a journal, as you can tell by the title, written in the heat of the moment. So, like I was saying before, there wasn't always what you see now. It was very, very hard, very hopeless, but...
Sounds like a very dark time. How long ago was that?
That was March of 2013. So, seems like forever ago, but it was really not even 5 years.
Yeah, it could feel like yesterday as well.
What happens to turn that around from such a dark outlook to where you are now?
I guess you just get to a point where enough is enough. And in the next reading I'll do, there's one thing that really changed it for me. One question I asked myself. It's just how you view things, how you view your situation. I decided that I wanted to take charge. You need to take smaller steps to get better. And really, you have to take the initiative to do it. It may seem impossible, but again, if you take it slow, take it step by step, and take the help that's out there, then, no one's a hopeless case.
I've always felt, especially like with your books and everything, that the important message there was that you can be in a place that dark, but get past it. Like,
Definitely.
there's always hope to get through it.
Definitely.
Winston Churchill famously said, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're
I love
talking
that
about,
saying.
right?
Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, and like it just goes back to the community that you guys are building, and it's really interesting to hear you or to hear that reading of such a dark place that you are. You sounded very alone and sounded very, unaware that there's so many people around you that relate to you, care about your cause and mental health awareness, and yeah, so.
Yeah, the original reading I chose was much darker. I thought, I wouldn't bring the whole place down with that one.
Yeah.
So
So they're available online, right? You can purchase the books online?
yeah, on Amazon, just search the BPD journals, and
Cool.
you get Kindle ones for, I made them
Do you have
99
them
cents.
At the library?
No, you can get them through me. I have hard copies, and
Cool.
it's pretty much pay what you can at this point. I just
Taylor's
wanna
kind of a big deal
get
at the
it.
library in town.
I think the library is a big deal, and I think you should always
stuff should be there.
yeah,
right?
Always
you should put
open
your
to
books
that.
in the library.
Yeah, but like it's taken a back seat to Smash the Stigmas, so I would
Right.
like to get back into it and
Yeah.
do more writing.
Very cool.
So you're a guitar player as well.
Yes, 20 years now.
Wow, I didn't even know that actually. I
When
don't
did you
think.
start? When did you start playing guitar?
I was 7. I had no hobbies, so my dad got me a Costco electric guitar kit and for
The one that
Christmas.
comes in a box?
Yeah, with the little amp and everything, and then just kept going from there.
Isn't that
Cool.
awesome? That might be a good segue into the way art has influenced the way you feel and act with around the issues you're trying to bring attention to.
Mm-hmm.
To sum it up, art saved my life. Whether it was music or just writing is cathartic for me. It really, even though I'd be angry, feeling alone, high, whatever I'd be when I was writing it, it would still be an escape, somewhere I go to, and it wouldn't judge. It was just writing. It doesn't say anything back. It just
it's
just
also
listens.
a good way of like getting emotions and things out,
Mhm.
like just as an outlet,
Mhm.
so it's not bottled up inside. I guess.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I also like how it's something you're creating something out of this negative thing, but I think for most people you walk away from it, maybe it takes a little bit of time, but you walk away with something you're really proud of or something that you are like, you've created something positive out of something negative. So.
Yeah.
And it's been, I think, thought for a long time that art and suffering tend to go together, right? A lot. I mean, a lot of great art has come from dark places and people who suffer pain. There's got to be some kind of relationship there, right?
Yeah. All the bands that we that I know that have played the Smash the Stigmas are so supportive about it because it seems like everyone relates in one way or another.
Yeah.
So a lot of songwriters, I think, find themselves in a similar situation and expressing themselves that way.
Yeah, not to say we ensure that someone in the band has,
You
a
have
mental
to.
illness or something, but it's
Part of your
like you
recruiting?
said, it kind of just works out that way.
Yeah.
Can we
We
see
don't-
your
we-
resume, please? Oh,
Yeah.
God. You got some great stuff.
Yeah, we got to order some testing, but no, it's
Go
just
through a psych review.
yeah. So it's just
Yeah, it's just not a coincidence
unfortunate
that
it's
younger
like
people
that.
who are faced with the struggle find that a creative outlet of some kind. Was it that way with you, Audrey?
Yeah, for a long time I was into drawing and sketching. Recently I've gotten more into writing, mostly poetry. I used to do a lot of journaling, but kind of switched it up. I found with poetry it was more so kind of like fun to experiment with words and everything. Like it was, I don't know how to explain it.
You create really nice. I've read some of your poetry a little bit, and you really do create. You use really nice words and the visuals that you create with your.
Yeah,
words
that's what
is
I like to
really-
do as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you
nice.
direct in your poetry, or do you take an oblique angle at the issues?
Oh gosh, I'm not really sure actually. I just kind of like write what comes to mind. Like if most of it I'll do if I'm kind of like feeling down or in like a certain mood or whatever, then I try to like channel that into writing instead of something like negative, like self-harm or whatever.
Right. And how big is your portfolio?
Oh, not very big yet.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Because maybe they could turn into songs. Maybe Chris could use them as lyrics.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah.
or a book.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
A book. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
poetry
working
book.
on.
And Dan,
For
what
House
role has
and-
it played for you?
Art has been a huge role for me. It's allowed me to express myself in various different ways, whether it be dark or happy. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do. I just have a blank piece of canvas and I look at it and then just let my emotions run rampant with it. Other times it's directed, so I kind of have a feeling of what I wanted to see in the end, and then but I still kind of like follow the path and let it kind of unfold as I paint. But all of them have always been a way to sort of just like, I always feel a little bit more relief at the end. I feel like if I've let something go and there's some satisfaction from just that. Whether or not somebody sees the art, it doesn't really matter to me at that point.
Was this something you studied? Had you learned the skills earlier in life?
I was a bit of, I did not do well in art school or art class because I was always against it. I was just very contradictory when I was a young guy. So I never got along well with my art teachers, so I never really studied it. But it does run in the family, so I kind of learned a lot from my grandfather, who was an artist as well. So I have actually one of his pieces is a very, it's 7 by 3 foot big canvas in my kitchen. Yeah, which is actually takes over the entire kitchen.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not, I've never formally studied, but
You always thought of yourself as an artist?
oh yeah, always. Since I was a kid.
What medium do you prefer?
Mostly right now I'm on the acrylics.
Are you?
Because oils are far too expensive. Though I wouldn't mind playing with them a little bit. I also play around a little bit with watercolors at times. I'm heavily influenced by comic books as well as, the other, Picasso and Van Gogh and you can see a lot of Jackson Pollock in my paintings as well. So there's a lot of that as well as, pulp fiction, comic book art, they all kind of feed into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
How would you describe your style?
I would describe it as an abstract pulp art.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds really interesting.
Pollock fascinates me. I'm one of those
I
people
don't know who that is.
Jackson
like-
Pollock's the guy that did the very large canvases that were where he
Spider.
would take paint and sort of spray it. It was like
Okay.
Yeah.
really abstract. I don't understand it. Do you?
I use a lot of it in my own paintings. Like if you, I think actually the one at the first show,
Oh, Fluff Bucket.
Fluff Bucket was
Yeah.
very much heavily influenced.
And
by
as Pollock did, like a canvas on the floor, and
Well, I would. I take different ways of doing it. Sometimes it's like it's up in front of me, or it's on the floor. Sometimes I let the gravity take a little of an effect as well. I use different paints to sort of create different effects as I do it too.
fascinating.
Is your art available online for people to see?
Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How could they find that?
You can find it at surrealfringe.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
I have a Facebook page as well under Surreal Fringe. So if you ever,
Have you done showings?
the real thing we've done is actually with Smash the Stigma, the first show. I did a little bit there. I plan on doing more. It's just been so busy that we haven't really kind of kept going with that yet. But it is it's in a plan, yeah, because I do want to retire from what I'm currently doing as a job and just do art full time and
Oh yeah.
other things, yeah.
I admire your courage, all three of you, because all of this is soul bearing,
Very much so.
and that you got to kind of grit your teeth, I'm sure, before you do that.
Yeah, getting up on stage at the first show especially, and I'm sure every show from then on is going to be the same way, where I'm a shaking mess. But then I get up there and I see the reaction, and it's just for the first time, and as long as I can remember, it's like I'm doing what I'm meant to do. It's a passion of mine. I'm always working on something for it. Whether we could be at a pub or something, I'll have my notebook and I'll be writing down ideas. Some people stare into their cell phones. Some people actually converse. I just write in my notebook and kind of go back and forth. But it's just sometimes the wheels are turning.
Yeah, no, it's good to always have your pen and paper ready
Absolutely.
as a writer. I'd say for sure.
Yeah, that's to say 2018 holds a lot of new stuff for us.
Very cool. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Do
Exciting
you
times.
have a schedule planned for these shows? Are you going to do a series of them over a period of time?
Yeah, I mean, we have the next show already planned already for February 24th.
That's
And
the
then
Fox
we've
Lounge.
also got, I mean, not that we don't have it all figured out just yet, but we do have 2 more shows after that figured, to follow up and kind of keep the momentum going. And we've, Chris is always way ahead too, because the way his brain works.
The way to be.
Manically.
So, he's always got, okay, we're going to do this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring
Every
it back.
3 months at the
Yeah.
Fox,
Yeah.
we've agreed on. So May will be the one after, and then Foxy Fundraiser, the sequel, will be again in August. And
Very nice.
we'll continue that. And then there's a lot of stuff that we're going to do on the side, like in the arts, with writing. There's going to be more community support directly. There's been talks of maybe potentially a podcast where we can talk about issues and have guests and stuff that's in the news and stuff that's in the community. Just any and every way to, spread the word and
keep growing,
get the message
build
out
that
there.
community.
Yeah.
And build that platform for people to express themselves freely, right?
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
that's the podcast is one of the things we would thought might be good because it's something where we can talk about the issues directly, have people interact with us, whether it be through social media or come on the show with us, so they can express themselves and not, and feel like they're part of something too, right? Without judgment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a podcast. You don't have these. You can say whatever you want.
Don't have
It's
these
exciting.
language
It's not like this
restrictions.
show.
Oh, and
Not
we
this
will.
show.
That's true.
We're happy for our platform. Thank you. Thank you, radio gods.
Taylor finds it very creatively limiting that she's not allowed to use, curse words.
That's because you insult the
So not
Ramones,
true.
and then I'm fired up. Anyways, we're listening to another song, and that is by it's a past band of Shane Heath's.
Yeah, so this is one that was procured mysteriously. I can't really talk about the source. It's a Cincinnati gentleman song, so Shane.
Sorry, did I just ruin this? This is the mystery.
No. Everyone knows
Am I not
Shane.
supposed to say his name? Okay, sorry.
No, I never said that was the individual.
Okay,
but
okay.
this is a previously unreleased,
Yes.
never before heard song.
Oh, we love world
So-
premieres.
Yay!
on
Yes,
this show.
loves
Love
this
the
is an
whole-
exclusive
awesome.
just for you. Is our way of saying thank you, and this mystery persons. So it is called "Symptoms of Getting Older," or "Getting Old." Sorry, I can't
I'm
read the
feeling that
mystery
every
guy's
day.
handwriting.
It
Yes.
sucks.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Oh God.
So-
"Symptoms of Getting Old" by Cincinnati Gentlemen, unreleased, never before heard.
Cincinnati Gentlemen, Symptoms of Getting Old on 102.7 Chop FM.
never come. Just break these walls and go outside and find your friends and maybe sing a song. The cracks start killing the way. hate, it should end well. These walls are you stare, one night awake for nothing. The symptoms of getting
Damn it.
Jammin'.
Symptoms of Getting Old by Cincinnati Gentlemen on 102.7 Chop FM. This is ArtsTalk. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And we are in conversation with Audrey, Chris, and Dan from Smash the Stigma.
Woo!
Ow.
Woohoo!
So what we're going to talk about now? So we have more readings to do.
Yeah.
Want to do that first?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
All right. So what's this? Where are we here on this reading, Chris?
So I would call this a spoiler alert. It's the third book. It's the last post, but I think it gives people an idea of after these, I guess by then it would have been 5 years since I started the books, where I ended up. And it's actually called Summation. It's a summary of everything. Yeah, so I'll just get to it.
All right.
So it was July 8th, 2017. Here we are, reaching the final chapter of yet another period of my life, chronicled in journal entries spanning over a year. Summing up what has happened in those 15 months is no small task, but I will do my best. Most of my recollection is foggy, and if not for these journals I keep, I may remember very little from those months. It may be exceedingly obvious, but I have had my fair share of ups and downs throughout the course of this volume, as is the life of one with bipolar. I guess the quintessential question at the end of every story is this: what have I learned? The short answer is that I've learned a lot about myself, my mental illnesses, and navigating through life in a healthy way. However, if you've been paying attention throughout these books, you know the short answer is rarely something I go with, so get comfortable and read on. This last post is the end of an era, the culmination of 15 months of lessons learned the hard way, personal growth, tragedy, loss, and taking huge steps towards understanding who I am and where I fit into this mad, mad world. At the start of the book, I was in a bad state, losing the girl I love more than anything after a long relationship. I thought I would never recover and let myself fall into a pit of despair and harmful coping techniques. All I really had to hold on to was the desire to make a difference, to help other people so that they did not have to go through the same pain I did. I hope that with my writing, less people would be dragged through the crap I was. And maybe, just maybe, they would see that there is hope for the future. Against all odds, I managed to hang on to that idea, and it worked. Very slowly. But it grew and became something else altogether. Over late summer and fall, I was starting to catch my breath again. I was hit with the horrible news that my uncle had cancer and did not have long to live. He fought and shocked the doctors by holding on to life for 2 months longer than he was supposed to. I learned a lot about passion for life and how much it is taken for granted. He never gave up and will always be an inspiration to me. Besides that, many other lessons were learned. In the end, things I thought would break me because they seemed so hopeless at the time eventually caused me to take a look at my life and ask myself the most fundamental question. What can I do with this pain to inspire people to fight against their illness for a better life? It was at that time I realized I had been victimizing myself instead of using the pain as a fuel for something better. From that, a movement was born, one that is still growing and gaining momentum in its mission to smash the stigma associated with mental illness and stop the discrimination and barriers born of it. I cannot remember the last time I felt so passionate and certain about anything in my life, and the drive I have felt to make this reality is bigger than any substance I can put in my body. The high is real, clean, and positive. Seeing everyone begin to notice, listen, and join me in taking action was surreal and remains so to this day. A bad relationship, in the sense that it was poorly timed and rushed, threatened to overturn and demolish everything I had built. I was barely hanging on as I button mashed my way through each day, trying to help someone I was unable to help because I lacked the strength and knowledge. I beat myself up over it for months, not realizing that I needed to work on myself before I could be with anyone. How could I ask someone to love me, to give themselves to me, when I wasn't able to do the same for them? I made another difficult decision and faced the consequences and pain born of it. This time I was more determined than ever to be better and overcome the demons that haunt my psyche. I would not let them win again. A part of me that realizes the importance of always moving forward, having something to work for, something to fight for, and a damn good reason to do it. If you can change one thing about your circumstances, it is how you deal with what life throws at you. The past cannot be changed, but the future is far from set in stone. It is fluid and ever-changing, shifting perpetually based on what decisions you make and how you react to life's many challenges. Take control and fight for your life. I have cut my skin wide open and been stitched back up over and over. I have overdosed on painkillers, sleeping pills, and anything else I could get my hands on. I have made reckless decisions because I didn't care if I woke up the next day or not. I have covered my pain with sex, drugs, and alcohol. I have hurt people, and people have hurt me. I've been beaten down, lit on fire, and bleeped on. The thing is, though, I am still here. We all feel pain, heartache, depression, and wonder if we would be better off dead. But we wouldn't be. Why? Because as sure as the sun is going to rise in the morning, our lives matter too. We are not mentally ill people. We are people with mental illnesses. We are not weak or sick. It is not in our heads. And we are not crazy or deranged. We are human. Some of the strongest and most brilliantly talented people I know have a mental illness. You think some diagnosis or a series of acronyms is going to define me, going to keep me down? No. I call myself Topher Edwards, and I am an author. I have bipolar II disorder, borderline personality disorder, OCD, major depressive disorder, ADHD, generalized anxiety disorder, Tourette's. No. My name is Chris Harrington, and I am 27 years old, and I have been diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses. I am not defined by a chart in my psychiatrist's filing cabinet. I am an average person with a story to tell and a message to send. Keep fighting mental illness, because mental illness won't stop fighting you. Where to go from here? Forward. Always forward.
Very nice.
So you wrote those words a little over 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Recent, yeah.
The month before the first show.
And it sounds like an ending. It does sound like an ending. Maybe
Or like
the end of the beginning,
yeah,
or
beginning and
the end of an era. What?
I haven't really been writing since then.
Haven't felt the need to.
Well, like you said, you're working on...
So I think
together.
that's where my catharsis lies, is now in the people, in this room that support me, the people that come to the shows that support us, and in doing the work we do.
Was 5 years ago when you started? 5 years ago when you published, or when you started keeping the journal?
Keeping these journals. 2009 is when I started actually journaling.
Is that right? Is that when you got diagnosed with bipolar, or was there something that triggered you to start writing at that time?
I was at Queen's University for pre-med, and I started to slide, and it was just diagnosis after diagnosis. I had to leave and drop out of Queen's, and it just, snowballed from there. But journaling was always a pressure release valve.
Right.
It just always helped.
So the arc, if people read all three books, will they see an arc in this? It sounds like it's probably
there's
based on those last
continuity,
words,
but they'll see a wave pattern, because the third book's actually called Stable Instability.
Right.
My therapist came up with that. She said, say one thing that's been stable in your life, and being the person I am, I said instability has been stable in my life.
Makes sense.
Uncertainty is the only thing that's certain.
Yeah.
So the general path has been upwards, but intermittently it's been downwards. Like somebody described it as someone using a yo-yo on an escalator. So the path is upward, but there's a lot of volatility on the way up.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
definitely
fascinating
more
story.
upward trend recently. Before it was kind of just the yo-yo was dragging along the ground on the way to the escalator.
Sometimes it takes a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much
Yes,
for being
thank
here,
you.
Chris, Dan, and Audrey from Smash the Stigma. It's a
Anytime.
very cool story,
Mm-hmm.
and it's clearly touches people and makes a difference, which is it sounds like the whole objective of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
So we wish you nothing but the best of luck and success, and come back and see us again. Because maybe at the end of this year, after you have, say, 3 or 4 of the shows under your belt, you will have something that will have the kinks work out of it that you could take to other venues and do it in other towns.
Yeah, spreading
Yeah.
the word. That
Yeah.
building a bigger.
Well, that's why we did
community.
go with Smash the Stigma Canada. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
make
we're
sure
not
that door's
pigeonholing.
wide
For
open.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
And
absolutely.
anyone that approaches us with ideas or ways to support, ways to contribute, we're always open to that.
Mm-hmm.
We're-
So let's
we're
talk about
very-
that. How can people find you, reach you, buy your stuff, and get connected with Smash the Stigma?
So we have an Instagram account, which is Smash The Stigma Canada. You can also find us on Facebook under Smash The Stigma Canada. Our website is www.smashthestigmacanada.org.
Great.
Yep.
That's
And we have
where
a
you can
Twitter
find
that's Smash the Stigma
underscore.
underscore.
Oh, there's underscores. No, yeah, it's underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Just
right.
search that
It's all on the
hashtag.
website.
Yeah, you got it.
That's awesome.
All right, and like we had mentioned before, the next Smash the Stigma show at the Fox Lounge in Barrie is February 24th. And do you want to announce the bands that will be playing that night, or is that
Ye-
secret?
No,
they've already
the flyer's
announced
up.
it.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Yeah, so there's 8. There's Rosewood Annie, A Particle Apart, Jupiter Hollow, Steve from Nothing Box is going to be playing.
Nice.
Crast, which is a new band.
Beaver Slap.
What's Zach?
Beaver
Beaver
Slap,
Slap is
woo!
going to be playing.
Sorry about that.
Gray Eyes will be there as well. And yeah, it will be this same thing you expect. There will be prize draws, dares for donations, all kinds of fun
And
stuff.
this event is also all ages from 4:30 to 9 p.m.
Lovely.
Oh, nice
that's
idea.
actually, that's
A really,
great.
really good idea.
Very cool.
February 24th, the Fox Sounds.
Yes.
Don't miss it. Our thanks again to Dan, Chris, and Audrey for being here tonight. Who's on next week?
Next week we've got a local Newmarket band called The Human Drive.
The Human Drive.
So tune
Look
in
for-
then.
Tune in 6 o'clock. In the meantime, we're going to go out of here with a tune called Anatomically Correct by
Hysterics.
Hello on 102.7 Chop FM.